Just a couple of words. It's easier for me and it's more complicated for me, more difficult. Again, I'm not going to talk about our projects, our designs for the park. And as for the experience, our experience is minimal in relation to our partners and friends, and we've only got a few minutes, so it's a serious topic, and we cannot really talk about it in detail. Have you checked it? Yeah, we clicked it. Just I'll give you some key, I'll name some key design projects, and not re-emphasizing our projects outside of the city, our designs elsewhere. First, that's where we live. We live here. We have our one public space. We all, I think it speaks a lot about here where we live. The second design, I'm going to talk about it, is a big public space united by this big enfilade. Why I want to talk about it? Because a very interesting exhibition opened there. If you want to learn more about us, go there, you'll learn more. And a bit about our work outside of our city. That's School Kids Palace in Kazakhstan. It's the biggest pioneers palace in the world, about 50,000. There's two cinemas, sports, and all kinds of sections. It's a big city and built on the principles of a Kazakh shaping of space. It's a yurta, it's like a tent, and really put a lot of work into it, and all of analysis. All these ornaments are not just there because they're related to regions of Kazakhstan around this space. It occupies 2/3 of, and there's a special functions, sports functions, and they around them grouped are all kinds of functions. It's a city. A bit about other regions of our big motherland, Sochi. Two big projects. It's a railway station. It's a big bird. It's made according to the laws of how birds work. And the way it goes there, you see the bones and the feathers and all of it. And the most important thing that this bird is, it's made according to laws of flows. We modeled the flows of passengers. There are fluxes. There were lots of them. 30,000 people are now during the Olympic Games. And given those fluxes, flows, we made it. And the second one is serious. We are, contrary to the task, we split it in several parts, and we didn't tear one tree. And there are several educational functions around the hotel where all pupils live. That's one thing about this one big tree. We made this satellite, this flying saucer, and there's educational building, and then now we're building a sports building, and we broke some rules to make it smaller. Around it, you see there's the height is not normative in the gym and in the swimming pool. Now we're making it, and the last one is arts building. It's a lyre, it's a musical instrument, and we packed it all there and circumvening the trees. And there, all those buildings, the space, that's the most important thing, the space. It's a place for communication, because today education, that's communication. So around this, it's a very big space, it's branches, and there are all kinds of educational buildings. It's a city again. It's a multifunctional space, a library and food, and it's a bit theatrical, complex, and lots of Eiffman. That's we finished our work, and it's a big quarter. It's an arrondissement. It's one space. It's not divided. It's not split. It's one space where are bathing the ballet rooms. And our theater space again. It's a theater and school. In the morning it's a school and big recreation. In the evening that's theater, and then again it's one big space. And it's a semi-park. We haven't been able to build a proper park because there's not enough money, but we're developing it step by step. It's Mikhailovka. It's a big educational building, about 3,000 students go to school there. And in the framework of a small historical building, we developed this complex, educational complex. We created several other park kind of objects. Each one of them is characterized by this one general space that puts it all together. And now we're building the domes. Now, a well-known to most Petersburgers building, that's the new museum of Russian railways. And again, different heights and two international competitions. Alas, they are lagging behind. It's in Tomsk, a wooden building, the first new wooden building in Russia. And it's a serious basis for it. Wooden architecture of 1920s and the Russian architecture, classical Tomsk architecture. And Tomsk is the only wooden city that's been preserved in its entirety. And the second one is the Siege Museum. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because it's one of our best things. It's not implemented yet. Thanks for your attention. Thank you.
Some of our experience and work, if it does
Just
work.
a sec.
How do you do this?
You can just talk. Yeah, just a sec. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is the start. Again. So as an introduction, our office is an international firm, landscape architecture working from the Netherlands and New York. And we are glad to be in a collaboration for this project in Petersburg. Some of you might know our work. For the last 7 years, we dedicated quality time to design and deliver New Holland Island. And as you might recognize, our designs are designed for people, to make, on an anthropological level, people meet each other and enjoy public space and green and quality. These places can be activated all year around and have rich botany, ecology, and in all of our designs, the children, we are all children, so play is key. And parks are for lovers, boy meets girl, lonely-hearted and people who are together. We did several waterfront parks globally, and very well known is in Madrid, Rio, which is a classic riverside. It is about altogether 20 kilometers of water's edges and beautiful view corridors to classical buildings. And this is one of the most popular places in Europe, although it's very new and young. It is walked over by 40,000 people per day. Fountains, playgrounds, historic artifacts. We also are still working for about 22 years on Jubilee Gardens. That's a London park on the wheel, the wheel in London, which has 8 million visitors per year. It's very well known and recognizable in downtown London, with beautiful botany and again playgrounds. We finished a 10-year work in Governor's Island in New York, which is a waterfront park for the mayors, and where we sculpted new land into a beautiful, iconic landscape, which is a magnet for people enjoying, fooling around, cultural activity, and all types of program, and again, a playground, botanically rich and developing as a robust future legacy. In North America, we also developed, and this is a place especially for night, like in Petersburg in the winter, where this is a park in Miami, where people meet under the trees, and in the evening all type of cultural program is based on projection. We did the green and the waterfront of Toronto, which is a very popular destination for the metropolis, where share space, ecology, green, shade, and also kind of leisure program, children educated to touch the water is relevant. We about finishing the Waterfront Park in Hong Kong. It's a new large park. And we are used to work in Russia for the last 20 years. We did several projects in Russia, amongst some UNESCO-related legacy projects like Tverskaya Boulevard, which was changed in a green boulevard again, 3 kilometers of sidewalk and shaded sidewalk, and introducing a new smile and glamour and beauty to Moscow. We also improved, and this is very complex world of traffic. These projects we collaborated with Strelka, of Belarus station, where a vast parking, typical Russian traffic world, was suddenly a people world, with green, with places to hang out, with some details for your eye, enjoyment, and making the place a place which is friendly. The same we did on the Kremlin embankment. As you might know, this is also UNESCO heritage, where suddenly a green foot to the Kremlin complex, and the alignment along the river with all type of walkways and places for pedestrian and bicyclists became part of the deal. We are really enjoying to be part of a world-class team in Petersburg and want to dedicate quality time in the next 2 months to deliver a beautiful design. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Спасибо большое. Okay. Микрофоны все на месте. Кликер. Thank you. С кликером, мне кажется, архитекторы как волшебники, да, которые создают среду. Я не буду разбивать своими вопросами.
I'm not going to break these presentations by questions, although there are some interesting topics for discussion. I'm happy to invite on stage next speakers Henri Bavard from partner Agence Terre and Philippe Ram Architects. Microphones.
Hello everyone, we are very glad to be here in St. Petersburg this evening. Philippe Ram and,
hello.
Me, Henri Bavard. I am a founder and a partner of Agence Terre, one of the 3 of them. We are very glad to present you our team. So with the team leader, Agence Terre, together with Gilles Gallinet, so for the living soils, so specialists, and Irina Borski for local plant know-how. And we thought it was very important because of the complexity of the site of the park, Tучков, Buyan. We needed a complete team. We will present every one of those components, which are totally complementary. So we are working all over the world, from Los Angeles to Taiwan, or from Murmansk to South Africa, all of us. And what is our work about? It's about making the cities breathe, working for resilient and comfortable cities, and for sure intelligent cities. I would add, we like to work in a participative way, to work with the inhabitants. It's very important in order to be site-specific. It's not only enough to work in different countries. We have every time to work in a site-specific way and a cultural-specific way. So, Agence Terre is well known for developing nature in the city, with the help of living grounds, living soils, developing ecosystems in the cities, like here in Barcelona. So only 2-3 examples of Agence Terre, then we will see different from our team. So the urban canopy, Plaza Glorias in Barcelona, the question was how to transform a big interchange in Barcelona, the gate of Barcelona connected to the diagonal, into an eco park. So it's what we are doing now. It's an ongoing project. So with the freshly planted trees you can see above, and the different ecological plantations, together with uses, for sure, together with playgrounds, with different uses, totally mixed in this project. And another example is how to transform a former car maker factory near Paris into a park inspired by water management. This is the Parc du Trapèze near Paris. Another example is in Shanghai, a 21 kilometers long promenade realized in only 2 years. We are in China, they are very fast in realization of those things, and it's a very iconic site in front of the Bund. So along a river, a bit like our project here in St. Petersburg. I would like to present now Philippe Ram, our Swiss architect based in Paris and well known for climatic places, climatic architectures.
Yeah, maybe we can jump on the other slide, the next one. So from our expertise is that today, of course, we have to also to add the climatic value of the park, because at the beginning of the park, it was to cool the city. You know, in the 19th century, when it started to be invented, the ambition of the park was to cool and to clean the air of the park. And I think this dimension is becoming more and more important, and especially here in St. Petersburg, there is a little problem of pollution, but there is a question of coolness, because all this image we are seeing from the beginning of this presentation is only summer images. And so the big challenge is also to do something for the winter, so how to imagine a park for the winter. And we made this park in Taiwan, and this is related to energy, to climate, to pollution, how to fight global warming, how to find sustainability. And so, for example, in the previous year, we can see this is like all the production of electricity was made on site. And I think we have to use to think about the production of electricity, of energy, by using renewable energy. And this is what we are doing. And also we challenge also the question of the climate to understand the city weather, the city climate, and of course we can understand the wind, where it's cold and warm, and we can design with this type of things. We won a very important competition in Milan with OMA 6 months ago, and everything is made how to cool and to clean the city. So this is our expertise inside the team.
And very important for open spaces in such a climate like in St. Petersburg. Yes. Another partner here in our team is Carlo Ratti Associati, so our Italian worldwide expert for digital design for cities. So this is for him very important and for us, all of us, important to develop such an intelligence that senses and responds, really to have a kind of dialogue between things, projects and people and the social. And here in Lugano, for example, this is the Waterfront project, and so for him it was very important to make it to develop those exchanges.
Yeah. It's also how to integrate the digital tools, the smartphone, all these type of things inside the logic of the park, inside the logic of architecture today. So this is our expertise from Carlo Ratti here. Yeah.
Another component of another example is the digital water pavilion in Zaragoza in Spain, or the dynamic street in Toronto, Canada. So we can guess a bit the different response, the different digital technology installed, so developed by Carlo Ratti. We worked as well with etc. So a French office working for so to develop places for people, so making places, yeah, so place making, we can say in English.
It's like the social curating of the park.
Exactly.
Yes, of
so
the
that's
project.
One example of this is in London. So a public art program and urban experiments all around a simple cathedral. So here, how can we work around a monument and totally with the inhabitants to have different places, leisure program, so in order to make the people, for the people to appropriate the site. Another component of the team is Avesta. So this time is not only social, is connecting people and cultural. It's about cultural programming. Here we have different very important examples like Pushkin museums or GES2 Moscow. So very well-known programs developed by this office. And as well, Concepto, we like to work with Concepto. They are a light designer. So in order to reinvent the nightscapes of our cities, they are not only light designers. They like to highlight heritage and at the same time to preserve biodiversity, fauna and flora. So that's quite challenging. And that's very important for us to develop it in such a way.
Yeah, I think this is a little this idea to connect the culture or the social aspect with a kind of biological, or this is for animals. This is how to think about the park from an animal point of view, and how the light can also be not disturbing the animal life and the biological life of the ecosystem of the city.
With the example of Notre Dame, they have now other problems, for sure. We know that, but so we are rebuilding Notre Dame for sure, and rebuilding the light system. So with the CETEC, the engineers, so how to make it possible. So that's very important to work with them. They are based in Paris, in different countries, but they are based as well in Moscow. And in Moscow, so from Moscow, they developed different very important projects here in Russia. So you can recognize many of them. So the Mariinsky Theater, and so different of one. The big project on the right in St. Petersburg, for sure, very well known. They didn't work on the tower itself, but on the different buildings all around the tower, integrating the fluids, technology, and so the different technical elements.
Yeah, this is also because we are careful about the cost of our project. So the economical value of the project will be also one element.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо большое, коллеги. Thank you, colleagues. Спасибо большое. И тоже не задерживаясь, я рада пригласить на сцену Jamie Maslin-Larsen.
Jamie Maslin-Larsen, Director of New York Office of Bjarke Ingels Group, Landscape Director. Give him a big hand.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for inviting us. We're very honored, and on behalf of our team, which includes New York and Moscow-based consultants, I'll be speaking about some of Big's projects, which might be relevant to the project here. Big is an international practice. We have a diverse group of folks that really bring a lot of ideas from their home country and help keep us inspired every single day. Over 4 of our offices, we have 600 employees. I'm from the New York office, where there's 250, and our projects span the world. This is the New York office. We have a lot of fun. We have intense collaboration. We work hard together, but we also play hard together. We are architects, landscape architects, urban designers, product designers, interior designers, all working together under the same roof. And what does that mean? It means that every single day we have individual strengths and knowledge coming at a project all the time. So we challenge each other and inspire each other with our specific knowledge, so our projects are better informed and respond better to multiple issues. I'm a landscape architect, by the way. I've been a landscape architect for 24 years and have built a lot of projects around the United States. This position gives us a lot of flexibility to work at projects of many scales, everything from just the size of a lamp all the way up to design of planning of entire cities. And we like working across those scales. Our process starts with intense research, and we try to mine all the possibilities and potentials of the conditions of a project for sources of inspiration. And this is really important. Before we even pick up a pencil and draw anything, we start with research. We start with the possibilities of understanding the potential. And then we use that as a basis for form giving. These are not arbitrary or random designs. They are very focused on understanding the critical path and inspiration of the potential of a project. And we edit and edit and edit and edit until we get something we like. And this is also tested with a much broader context of systems that are outside the boundaries of our project. Things like energy, community, heritage, time, anything that is a force on the site. We want to test our designs to see if they'll stand alone for many, many, many years. And as a result, we feel an incredible array of projects in our portfolio, each looking very unique from the rest, whether it's waterfronts or public space or installations or, of course, standalone buildings. So I want to talk about a few projects in more depth that might be relevant to St. Petersburg. Interesting. Sustainability. Sustainability isn't even a question anymore. It's the issue of our time. We've been working in Lower Manhattan on about 14 kilometers to protect the Lower Manhattan waterfront and the billions of dollars in resources, including Wall Street and the hundreds of thousands of people who live there. This followed the devastating effects of Hurricane Sandy in 2012. It was an international design competition, and we knew that there were ways that we could engineer our way out of this problem, but we wanted to do something that actually made a place that could be enjoyed every single day and had a diversity of experiences that reflected the community and their unique needs and requests. So we had probably 500 meetings with community members to invite them in to inform the choices of experiences along the waterfront. So while every day these spaces might look like parks or public spaces, they actually serve the purpose of protecting the people and the assets that are behind these areas. We just finished construction documents on the first 24 hectares, about the first 4 kilometers of waterfront along Lower Manhattan. It'll break ground this summer. And in just a few years, you'll be able to walk through this park, and it'll feel like a park, and it'll be enjoyable all 4 seasons, but what it'll really be doing is serving an incredible protection for New Yorkers. No building or anything that we do these days should serve just a single purpose, and this is our Copenhagen project that just opened a few months ago, which is a waste-to-energy treatment facility. So this is actually something that nobody usually wants to live near or be near, converting waste into energy. When we started this competition a long time ago, we asked, how can we do something different? And simply by shaping the roofline of the building, we were able to integrate what's a dream for many Danes, is to have a ski area in their own backyard. This is doing all the dirty, messy work underneath, but on top it actually feels like a park and public space. It's a beautiful recreation area. It's really fun. It has places where you can experience nature and views. It's enjoyable, and now has become a kind of beacon in the skyline of Copenhagen that people can say they're very proud of this facility. Heritage is, of course, a critical piece of the project here in St. Petersburg, and we have familiarity from our own UNESCO Heritage project in northern Copenhagen, the Danish Maritime Museum. The competition called for a building to be located in this boat slip, this dry dock, but we kind of turned that on its head, and instead of putting the building inside, we decided to preserve this dry dock as a kind of relic to the past, and put the museum in the back space behind it. So it became a very low-scale, hidden from all obstructions of the context of the castle. And it also kind of marries a new, fresh, modern approach within the historical context. And so it's working kind of coexisting together in a very thoughtful way. And in the meantime, people can actually go up and touch the history, and they can experience it with public programming and be a part of what was, you know, an incredible history of this dry dock. We wouldn't be successful designers if we had places that people didn't thrive in. And so this is the most important piece of the work we do, making it livable and enjoyable every single day for as many diversity groups that we can have. And probably the project you might know is Superkeyline in Copenhagen. This is a neighborhood that has an incredibly diverse neighborhood of about 60 different nationalities and races. And we wanted to sort of tap into this diversity and exploit it so that the folks there could feel a sense of ownership with this public space. Instead of importing our ideas, bringing the ideas from the community, which we hope to do with you all. So we asked the community members, what are some elements or relics from your home country that we might use in this space? And we really became curators. Like an art museum, curators, and creating the kind of formal organization of this as you move through this space, so that people now can recognize themselves and their cultures in this space, whether it's a cedar tree from Lebanon or a Moroccan water feature, a swing from Iraq. We even found Chinese palm trees that would grow in Copenhagen. And my favorite, of course, a donut sign from the United States. So, you know, these places are really places where communities come together and can be together. And this is a sign of a success when people can relax and enjoy and play together. Just one more quick project. It's hot off the press. We're working on the reimagining of a triple cantilever highway in Brooklyn, which has severed Brooklynites from the waterfront for about 5 decades. It wasn't always this way. There was a vision where river and city melded together. We have envisioned the highway in a new way, where we take the existing triple cantilever, move it to a deck, a simple deck structure, repurpose the triple cantilever with new program, and cover it with a landscape, so that once again Brooklynites can experience a stitched and easy way to get to the waterfront, transforming these places that are not accessible to the public into walkable play, relaxing spaces with nature, and where once the highway existed, we will be able to bring Brooklynites and other New Yorkers directly to their waterfront. Thank you very much. We look forward to the time.
Thank you. Есть ощущение, что я присутствую при историческом моменте, если честно. Далее, с большой честью также рада пригласить на сцену следующий консорциум. Ольгу Большанину, партнера «Герцог де Мирон», и Мартина Слоба, главу лондонского офиса Walked Landscape. Ваши аплодисменты.
Спасибо.
Bit closer. Bit closer. Yeah.
And it was for us, when we saw the announcement of this competition, was for us a very logical and like without thinking decision that we're going to work together on this. We have worked together for over 20
Уже
years,
больше 28 лет, и вместе мы сделали 50 проектов. Мы работаем вместе, потому что мы вместе разделяем одни и те же взгляды на то, как должны города жить, работать, и как мы можем создавать хорошую архитектуру и ландшафтную архитектуру для современных городов. Мы хотим сейчас поговорить с вами, это проходить по этой презентации.
Is knowledge-based, and we call it knowledge-based design. And the reason we do that is because we believe only through really understanding deeply and profoundly the method that we work with, we can come up with good and meaningful solutions and proposals. Now this talks about the various levels of landscape, from the social landscape for people that live, work and play in these landscapes, from the natural landscape. So when we start projects, we start with quite a deep research, deep study, from desktop studies, understanding the science, biology, its geomorphology, its geology, to really know what is this actually, what is this made of? How does this come about? We do our homework for that. We want to see what the site is, what are the patterns, how do these landscapes, how they develop over time, and what are they actually made of? What if you dig a hole in the ground there? What do you actually find? What do you see? And what does it actually translate into in a real landscape? So we go out on site, we go out, we measure physically the landscape and translate it into things that we can understand. So we map it out, and we model it up to see what is the landscape that we see in the top left corner? What is it actually made of, and how does it actually work? It's a reality you see in the top layer that turns itself into a model we can understand. And it's through model making, this is an image of our workshop in a survey office. It's through model making that we can understand the new reality. It's the reality of the models themselves. This again is a workshop in our office. The models themselves, they have their own reality, but it's also through model making, through designing, so that we can understand what the reality will be. So it's the reality becomes a model, and also the model becomes a reality again. This is a project that we have delivered for here from the Novartis campus in Basel. So through understanding, through research, through model making, through testing it on site, building models, building multiple models, actually figuring out what this means. There's actually the Novartis campus in Basel, which is a reinterpretation.
Yes.
It's a reinterpretation of the upper river terrace of the River Rhine, which is basically a graded river, a well-graded river in between. This is an image. This is a carefully orchestrated design. This is built on top of a three-story car park. There's nothing natural about this. It's a purely design. Every level is placed by hand. It is the recognition of the human layer that we find important, because we're not just having nature play. We are a human layer, and the same as Alia was saying earlier in this presentation, it's the anthropogenic layer which is relevant, because we are not just only looking at landscape, we're landscape architects. We make something with this landscape. We make it for people, we make it inhabitable. Design is probably one of the most important aspects of our work, from history into the future. There is, if you think about it carefully, there is history is everything we have. And without the result of everything we see outside, especially in landscape art, everything we see is only the result of the history that was ever there. And we are very, very acutely aware of it in the projects that we work on. Some of the projects like the Eiffel Tower we're currently working on, where the history is so incredibly present and will be so scrutinized going into the future by the decisions we take on sites like these. At the same time, we recognize the contemporary issues, the contemporary challenges that we face, such as security measures have to be taken on high-risk sites like these, where we have to incorporate new security measures. And by doing that, we have to very, very carefully understand what the history of the site is, how does this come about, and why is it the way it is. But also realize we are making the next step, and we're only making the next step. This site has its own history, and it will have its future going on. You cannot make new landscapes. Landscapes always exist, and there will always be a future of the landscape. The only thing we can do is to make a small step within the journey that this site, this landscape is on. So it's understanding the history and making a meaningful contribution to the site going forward. The same counts for a project we did our project for years ago, Take Modern in London, where when we imagined this site, on the left-hand side you see the site pre-construction, the old powerhouse, which Olga will tell you more about. On the right-hand side, just after construction, this was built in the early 2000s, for the first stage in the 90s. The interesting thing to look at now, the site has grown, the site has lived, it has its own story, it has its own new history. We left the site designed at a certain pace, but we're interested in what happens after.
Yes, basically, this was an interesting competition in '94, and it was a former power station, an industrial site where we kind of inherited this industrial building and we transformed it into a museum. We transformed it into a public space, and creating this project has rejuvenated the whole South Bank area of London. So we created this park in front of the museum that is a very popular place, very simple lawn, very simple birch trees, the ramp guiding to the main entrance, but as well as this public space ends in the turbine hall, which is also an inherited space, a found space that becomes a contemporary exhibition space. That is an extension of the outside and connecting the inside to the outside. So it's a place with a lot of layers of the history and with a long future. This is another project we've done in Santa Cruz and Tenerife, Plaza de España. This is another place with several layers of history. So on one day it was a place where the former fortress used to be, and you see in the fountain the trace of this fortress. That's a place where where the Spanish defended themselves against the British invasion, and we have the monuments remains from the Franco time. So this plaza is like an entrance point to the island for the people that arrive by boat. So it is also the place along the embankment that was where the city became too far from the sea. And we wanted to reintroduce the water and the connection to the sea to the inhabitants of the city. So this water pool is filled with water from the sea, and the fountain shows up 4 times a day to when the sea levels are going up and down. The trees, for example, been recycled. They've been building a tram in the city of Tenerife, and they were getting rid of the old trees, and we could repurpose them on this plaza. So it's a really open public space, very flexible, that hosts the large carnivals and basically flexible space with the traces of the history.
As landscape architects and architects, we're spatial designers. We design space, and at our disposal we have trees, we have benches, bins, bricks, etc. That's the stuff that we can make, the elements that we can sculpt the spaces with. Ultimately, what we're interested in is in the lived space. So we've got the design space that we make, but ultimately it's the lived space, how space gets inhabited by people, by plants, by animals, to create these new ecologies on site. That's what we're interested in. So on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, sorry, you see what we design with. and on the left-hand side what you design for. And this is for the people, but it is equally, this is a project for, this is an internal tropical rainforest in a zoo in Zurich, which is it's equally designing for wildlife, for plants, for animals, for new ecologies of the site to evolve. We're very honored to be part of this competition, and we greatly look forward to working on this in the coming 2 months and coming up with something fun.
Аплодисменты. Thank you. You can stay on.
Спасибо, можете остаться здесь на сцене.
Сессия.
Dear friends, now there's a Q&A session, and the chairs magically appear on stage. I'd like to remind you the rules of this presentation. Again, there'll be chairs. After that, I'm inviting on stage representative of Studio 44, West 8, Argentaire, Philippe Ram Architects, Big and Vogt and Herzog de Meuron are already here. So the rules are, you can ask questions tonight, but don't ask questions about the concepts they prepare, any ideas about the park, because according to the rules, we cannot discuss those, the competition concepts. And like I said in the beginning, it's important for those who are here for the first time, they haven't really had time to shape any impressions of the city. So let's ask questions that be interesting for all participants.
У нас есть два волшебных.
We have two magical people with microphones in the room, Sveta on the right and on the left here. Just raise your hand, we have time for 3 questions. Is everybody here? Like, I'm going to ask you to ask questions in Russian, but if it's more comfortable for you to ask them in English, go ahead. Okay, the first question, please stand up.
Не слышно.
Не слышно? А так слышно? Слышно?
Еще погромче.
Погромче. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It is such a pleasure to see these diverse teams ready to participate in the competition. I wanted to start with a question for all the teams. What do you think, which technologies and innovations would change fundamentally the way we live in big cities? As we know, St. Petersburg is one of the largest cities in Europe, and how the green zones and parks would contribute to that. Thank you.
Спасибо за вопрос. Who wants to start with the answer? Такой вы.
Я 2 слова, а потом... Понимаете, парки заменяют, вот это становится чуть ли...
Become this main public space, places of meetings and contacts, and the technologies do help, but it's important for a park to become this place of context. This is an interim space. It's a space where everybody meets, and really it's a space of communication. And this transformation has happened swiftly, and then there are very few parks of such kind, places for communication. That's a problem of our city.
Difficult to, sorry. I think it's difficult to specify saying, oh, this technology is going to save the world and this technology is going to change the way we live in cities. I mean, I think the challenges are omnipresent that we face across the globe. Climate change, sustainability questions, they're the big questions of our time, so we have to address those. And living in big cities, living closer together makes the problem worse, but also provides a solution to the problem. And I think it will be ultimately quite a diverse combination of problems, and it's really understanding it and understanding how we can apply technology in a smart way. That's going to be the solution. It's not so much that there's one technology I think is going to save the world.
Thank you. Any more?
We're working with Toyota on a master plan. It's called the Woven City, where we're using a lot of automation and robotics and technology and this is an automobile company that's actually using technology to almost drive themselves out of business to create a community that is safer for pedestrians, you know, has healthier air, and a kind of pedestrian realm that I think maybe existed a long time ago before cars were introduced. So, you know, it's not that there's immediately going to be cars that go away from our lives, but certainly introducing cleaner and safer ways for deliveries to happen and so on could really help cities become more walkable and safer for many different kinds of people.
Thank you.
Before to bring technology in the park, for example, here in St. Petersburg, I think we really have to bring back the nature. So then the first knowledge we need is how to bring back the nature. How could we have soil so really fertile? And it's not very easy. It's quite complicated for every one of us, I think. We have to think about, and then for sure, if at the time when we think when we understand the way to develop a long-term strategy, this is the most important one, then we can work with technology. We are able, so the technology is very important, as we said a few minutes ago together with Philip, and we are very concerned about the climate, about how to make the park very comfortable for everyone, and for this goal, we need the technology, but at the same time, we need really the nature back in the city.
Technologies are important, but nature first. Thank you. Any more ideas? No? We can, Adrian, yeah?
When we were working in Petersburg, we were...
Close the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah?
I still remember the big, let's say, the big step was that suddenly 1 million people arrive on the site. So I think it is very relevant to understand that the Petersburg season is very short and people want to be there, and so they need critical mass where they can enjoy and meet each other and hang around. And also I believe that it's so complex to build a park here, but that the social and anthropological should be the dominant thing. It's a park for people. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Спасибо большое. Следующий вопрос. Пожалуйста, встаньте, если вам не сложно.
Пожалуйста, меня зовут Ольга. Я хотела спросить.
To ask you, does anybody of you have an experience in building health paths? Parks? No, paths of health. Health paths in parks. Paths. Thanks for your question.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Philippe?
Yeah, the project we made in Taiwan was based on the health and the link with trees and also some other device, but the expertise should be very precise because there is a lot of greenwashing about that, and we know that it's good news because pine trees are really good to absorb, to catch the PM 2.5 particulate matter pollution, while the other trees are not this power of that. So we are very concerned about the quality of the air, the quality of the soil, and this is what we want to bring inside this project. Yes.
Спасибо. Нет. For example, the opportunity for blind people to attend the park.
Был ли опыт такой у вас?
Пожалуйста, конкретизируйте все ваши вопросы сразу, чтобы...
Ну, все, я уточнила. Просто понятно, что климат, почва, это все важно.
Do you want to add something? Anybody? No?
3 дня в Кинозерском парке сам лично расчищал тропу и рубил гати такие, знаете, типа на столбиках дороги. Если вас такой опыт устроит, то пожалуйста.
Спасибо.
Yeah, I can give also just say something about in the park in Taiwan. We have 3 types of paths of road. One is for healthy people that want to do sports, so it's a very complex. You have to move to the hill and there is another one that is more smooth, and the other one is completely flat, you know, for baby car, for old people, and so this is something. And I think your question is really important, because I just read today there is a meeting with a mayor in Paris about health and the city. And there is no journalist at this meeting, and the people, they complain about why no journalist is coming for this type of thing, and for other they are coming. So this is it's really important that what you say, and all of us, we have to keep that in mind. Yes.
Спасибо большое. You want to add? No? No? Okay. Если я не вижу рук, я тогда... Не пугайте так.
No, just a question. Don't threaten me. Don't scare me. I can't hear you. Please stand up. Is it on? I repeat. I can hear me, all right. I have a question to all our international colleagues and my local colleagues. I'm a planner, city planner. I'm interested in the biological component. How high are you going to raise the level of soil to plant these big trees? No, it's a forbidden question. Okay, then another question in another way. Okay, tell us about your experience of constructing on difficult parks on difficult sites. Have you had this kind of difficult sites? We're only asking about previous experience of bureaus, about the implemented projects.
As a landscape architect, I am working now for 32 years. We never were given a good site, never. So it's always an old railroad, it's an old derelict land, it's polluted land, it's on a parking garage. It's under infrastructure, so 90% of our projects are in hell. And we start reinventing the systemic approach of soil, water, plant life, and that's exactly our education. So I think for Petersburg there's an additional complexity, which is so close to the water. For us, it is very normal. I'm from the Netherlands, and smell a sort of complexity of salt water, sea level going up and down, limited tree selection possible because of harsh conditions. So to answer your question, it's yes. We did work like that all the time. Thank you.
And yes, I totally agree with with you. For example, in one of the projects, you're asking the questions. In the harbor, industrial harbor of Strasbourg, we started we are starting to create a new district to live in, and many parks. But at the beginning, the starting point is are different platforms, industrial platforms, totally sterile, so no vegetation at all. And we worked on every one of those platforms, finding the ex-fertile earth, which is underneath in the underground, putting that earth on the surface, so making it totally upside down. And with the help of an additional office, we totally reanimated this old fertile earth, which was totally covered by new materials which are totally sterile. We can work on the memory of the site. We can work on the different layers of the site, the different strata which are constituting the soil. So we have to think profoundly. Yeah? So what do we have underneath? The difficulty in the case of our park here in St. Petersburg is to have many concrete levels so in front of us. That's another question, but we are not allowed to give you the answer because we have to develop it and to present it to you in 2 months.
Thank you for... Спасибо, что поддерживаете правила нашей презентации. Anybody else wants to add?
Кто-нибудь еще хочет добавить? Я думаю, что сказал предыдущий.
Concur to. I mean, you never get given a good site where you've got perfect, healthy soil and you plant and go ahead and you plant a beautiful park. It's always complicated. We have projects where we have no soil. We're currently building a 44-hectare park on on a concrete slab on top of an active quarry for gravel and sand. So it varies. Another project we're working on is 6 levels up in the air on a roof terrace on the South Bank in London, and what we're trying to do there is to understand what is the soil of the pre-human occupation soil of that South Bank. We're sampling that, understanding the different river terraces, trying to recreate those soil profiles. We're putting them on a big rooftop, and we're just waiting. We're just seeing what happens, and we're literally just waiting 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years for a landscape to spontaneously develop. So I think this is the question of our times. We're constantly dealing with soil, good and bad.
Just one more thing to add. I agree with Adrian and everyone that these projects are ones that we are all dealing with. In fact, I had a project where it was a former military base, and we actually had to deal with unexploded bombs as we were building the project. So we had to bring in bomb squad while we were excavating, and so that was a new challenge that hopefully we won't face as we're working on this project.
Thank you. Спасибо большое за ответы на вопросы. Давайте поаплодируем. Приглашаю вас в зал.
Please welcome to the audience. While the chairs disappear, we'll listen to a great example of how a forbidden question turns into an allowed question. Please remember it so that we can abide by the rules. So on with the presentation of the competitors. Just 10 seconds for the first 4 to go back to the room. I'm happy to pass to the next presentation and welcome on stage Yuki Kibuchi, Partner and Vice President of Kengekuma and Associates. Please give a big hand.
We are Kengekuma and Associates in collaborations with the landscape designer, Vladimir.
Landscape design. Мы хотели бы начать со
Introduction of our office, as well as Vladimir's. By the way, my name is Yuki Geguchi. I'm a partner in charge of this competition and some of the projects that I'm introducing you now. We are an office of multicultural, dynamic, and creative individuals. Here we have my team members, Aska and Yasmin, working on this project together. We have architects from all over the world, Danish, Turkish, Chinese, Japanese, and we do share a lot of creative thoughts in order to come to creative solutions to tackle each one of the projects individually. We have office in Tokyo, which is the headquarter office, about 218 staff. Where we come from, it's a Paris office to tackle this competition together. We have 35 architects, and we have 2 offices in China, Beijing and Shanghai. We have a very collaborative relationship with the creative and innovative consultants and designers all over the world. And for this particular task, we have decided to team up with the Vladimir Landscape Architecture, Jasper Kunschau for lighting design from Denmark, and Bureau for engineering to do sustainability, structure, mechanical, and so on.
Hello, thank you for being with us with you tonight. And we're really glad that we've been selected with Kengo Kuma's team for this competition. So I'm from Vladimir Jurovich Landscape Architecture. Our company, we've been creating for 2 decades now landscape architecture. And our main strategy is creating the minimum gesture and to bring people closer to nature. We're a small, dedicated office based in Beirut of 25 people, and carefully selected. We're creating together this synergy of the office, and we're working for a big range in the geographic region. So with Kengo Kuma now, we have several projects in the process. We just won the Gulbenkian Museum in Lisbon, and we're working in Maldives together, and we're doing competition in Singapore.
We at Kengo Kuma and Associates, what is very particular in our practice is have these very keen eyes and innovative use of the natural elements. And we have this design method that is also particular, is this simultaneous study of micro-macro scale. This is one of our projects that has been completed in Dundee, Scotland. It's a V&A museum that takes the full contextual urban context into deriving the form and planning the museum. So this project takes an axis, the visual urban axis, as a part of the newly developed stations and the rest of the immediate surroundings of the urban context, framing the view towards the waterfront and drawing in the people from the urban to the waterfront. Another museum that we have completed recently, with Yasmin here, we worked together. This project is located in Eskişehir, one city in Turkey. This is something particular that we started analyzing and visiting quite intensely, the adjacent residential area, which was built in Ottoman era. Particularity about this museum, or the form of the museum, is this rotated and cantilevered volume of this residence. Originally, this was made, we believe it's for the privacy. However, this creates the series of these houses with the rotations in cantilevered creates this very unique streetscape that takes you to this journey in the street experience to be very unique, and this creates a sense of discovery. So how we generated this museum is to take the full language of this and to, by stacking and rotating the boxes, to respond to the historic language of creating the architecture and implement it into a different scale of the urban, as an urban museum. And this is how the space feels like, the series of interlocking volumes that in combinations, in subtractions, in addition and interlocking, this creates a very particular ingress of lights and the spatial compositions that gives a certain continuity from the streetscape all the way to interior of the exhibition. So earlier I've mentioned that we have a very keen interest or an eye on this tangible materials, the use of natural materials, timber, stone. And what is unique is also that we try to learn the traditional techniques and apply it in an innovative, contemporary manner to create something very unique in the modern and contemporary urban context. This is also the stone that's cut and reinforced and embedded with the steel plates that creates this change in aperture, change in the ingress of lights, the texture that is quite particular in this stone that is the regions where we have a quarry. Just to introduce a couple projects that we are working on at the moment. 2 projects in Denmark, actually, where the country is very keen about using the energy in a clean way. This project is Hans Christian Andersen Museum, which is a museum for a famous Danish fairy tale writer who writes about little mermaids and ugly ducklings. What was very interesting is to read into the profound message that the writer was expressing, which is the duality, the opposite elements that coexist in our life. Animals, the humans, light and shadows, and so on. All these plays are quite explicitly described in his fairy tales. So what we have implemented is this idea of creating the museum that are made with this some elements that could be interpreted between the architecture and landscape, some morphing of natural organic elements into creating of the spaces. Actually, these hedges are tracing the museum's exhibition spaces underground. So there's always this flipping back and front that you get lost and be confused. And this is part of the experience that relates to the context of the Andersen. But also that the idea is to really reconnect the city, which were broken by the recent developments of a large road, which are separating the site between the small, old traditional houses to this new urban, huge-scale development. So our idea is to bring back where the garden used to be, but to be interpreted into the world of Hans Christian Andersen. So this was something that we are constructing right now, under construction, to be completed sometime soon, I hope. So this is kind of experience that captured, but also to contribute to the community, how you can enjoy a part of the Andersen world, but in the urban context as your everyday life routine.
Yeah, for Gulbenkian, our design proposed an urban forest open to the city and creating a new landscape front for the Gulbenkian Park. So, and if you can see here, the landscape is completely blended with the architecture, and you can feel that the architecture and the landscape are coming together as a holistic approach for the project.
Last project is Water Culture House, which are in process of design in Copenhagen, along the waterfront and harbor. So this is completely to celebrate the culture and history, what water means, how it creates and defines the culture. And this also that we are using water, not just to dip yourself in, it's a part of the whole spatial experience that lights is filters and reflections and shadows and so on. So we just hope that this type of full integrations and design with the natural elements will be something that we can look forward to for the competitions and to implement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Спасибо большое, коллеги. Мы переходим к следующей презентации. Я рада...
I'm happy to invite on stage 3 representatives of a group of companies, Rita Prior, Michel Levin, paysagist, landscape architect, Sylvain Gerlin, landscape architect from Maganon, and Anastasia Zavada, the leading architect of orchestra design. Give them a big hand.
Let me say that we are really excited to work on this amazing project, and together with my team, we will present our works. Okay, so I'm Rita Priore from Michel Devin Paysagist, and together with the Meganom and the orchestra, we will make you a short presentation of our work and our approach to projects. Michel Devin Paysagiste is a landscape architecture firm based in the heart of Paris. As you can see from these images taken from our office, we're just near the Pompidou Center and the Notre Dame Cathedral. For 30 years, we've been developing very prestigious international projects, working with the local collaborators across 27 different countries. We have great experience dealing with the river front and the seafront, because we regularly work on these projects in France, in Bordeaux, Paris, Toulouse, but also in London. We are currently working on a project for the seafront of Monaco that runs along 1.3 kilometers. But we also have different important projects in Russia. Just to enumerate two of these. One is the VIC Foundation in the center of Moscow, just on the Moskova riverfront. And another one that we do in collaboration with the Meganom, that is just in the center of Moscow as well, near the Red Square. When we start a new project, our aim is revealing a place. In order to find the appropriate solution to a specific site without any preconceived idea or notions. As we used to do in other projects, also this time we decided to work with local architects, so let me introduce you Meganom and Orchestra Design.
So, my name is Silvia Gelain. I'm a landscape architect and I work in Meganom already 3 years. And I want to show you some of our projects. First of all, Meganom was founded in 1998 and is based in Moscow, in the territory of the ex-industry Krasny Oktyabr. So this is our office, so it's an open space, so we can work all together since we have architects, urbanists, landscape architects, and the researchers. So this is really important for us, for each project, to understand until the end, until the detail, how we can give something different every single time. So the main thing is the research. Also, we try to understand also how every single project in its context. It's not only the urban context, but for the example, in this case in Kaluga, this is one of the first projects of Meganom in which we have a simple architecture which is connected with the landscape to create the atmosphere. So this is another project 2006, Targovi Centr na Cvetnom Bulvare. And this is a building which is inscribed in the historic center. So it was really important to understand how to include this new construction without destroying the view of the street. Also, as you can see, the roof was, it's like a play of materials with this glass which grows to permit the natural light to enter the building. As you know, in Moscow we only have 90 days of sun, so this is really important. This is one of the projects that we have in New York, so we are not only working in Russia, but also outside Russia, and it's a 1,001 foot skyscraper high, and the most important thing is that the construction part, so the core is that you can see is isolated, so it permits to have like a 360 degrees view all over the city. Here we have also another concept. Well, this is the photograph of the concept, but it's partially already built. And this was the renovation of the Zil Peninsula. So we worked not only from a point of view of urbanism, but also from a point of view of the landscape, since we had to redesign the entire embankment, the streets, and to understand how people will live, not only inside the building, but also outside the building. Here we have a competition that Megan won. This was the first prize for the Moscow river banks. So the proposal was to restore the entire river bank of the river. So if you understand how long it is, we have the diameter of the city, which is about 70 kilometers. So you can imagine which kind of project. And the proposal was to create a series of ports to put the river like the center, the heart of the city. So to give it back to the people. Also, in this case, it's really important to understand how we try always to create a connection between the old and the new. I mean, in this case, we are in the Red Square. And we have this is the museum, Kremlin. So we have the old building that surrounds the new one, and the theme of the arches continues also inside the new building. So you have like the exposition hall, which is a series of arches that goes and repeats the existing ones. Here we have also, was really interesting from a point of view of the landscape architecture and public space, since the material from the Red Square continues until the new building. So we had to understand how to create the link. Last but not least, this was also a competition, and this is a building which is under construction too, and this is the Pushkin Museum. Here we had not only a reconstruction part, but also the we built also other new parts, and was linked to the entire rethinking of the landscape all around the museum, because the idea was to continue the exposition outside the museum until the city. So these are our main projects, and I wanted to give the...
Спасибо большое. Добрый день, добрый вечер. Меня зовут, я архитектор студии «Оркестра».
Of the orchestra studio, I'm a landscape designer. We deal in public spaces and urban environment and the cultural programming of public buildings. Our offices in St. Petersburg and in Paris. We're 3 years old, but our founders, Edouard Marot, urban architect, and Ekaterine Goldberg, coordinator of cultural programs, have had 50 years of experience in many European cities and in Russia and in the Middle East. Many know us by the Octava cluster. We developed the whole concept for the cultural program and renovation of architectural buildings on the site. And we develop all kinds of projects of different scale. Rather large-scale project is a stretch of development of Kazanka River in Tatarstan. Work on it together with the Institute of Development of Cities of Tatarstan. One can say that now it's a rather ambitious project for Russia, because here our task is to create space equal to 10, like an ecosystem of parks and eco zones, equal to 10 central parks in New York. It's 3,000 hectares. On this project, we developed this practice of mobilization of citizens. We conducted more than 100 interviews and experts meetings and design seminars, and we get feedback very intensively on the site, and so residents can leave their suggestions, opinions, and it's very important for our project to connect the residents and the territory. It's more than just collecting their opinions to find out what they want to see, but to define the future participants of the project, those who are going to activate and keep it going. And to contrast this, it's a smaller scale project, 61, 69 degrees project in Khanty-Mansisk. It's Gazprom Neft project. Very important. This small park is on the site of the abandoned territory of a residential area. There are several zones. It's built by residents in this amphitheater, in this recreation area. We develop it with teenagers. So we already have this connection, the ties with the locals. They're all connected to the site. And in autumn, when the first stage of the park was built, we had our first event, various of natural projects, in order not to disturb the area. They brought some life to this neighborhood. You see this placemaking and the installation built by the residents that tells of the vegetation and the small shapes of this territory. A couple of projects we're going to miss, and it's a Vyazma River embankment and in Ivanovsky region, and in Vannes in France. You can get acquainted with this project on social networks, and the renovation of Lenin Square in Yelabuga in Tatarstan. The winner of the competition for the best projects of small cities. We've had it 3 years. We've taken part 3 years, and we won in 3 projects and competitions. We created this interesting object, and it's under construction. Our park is under construction. See the first part of the installation. We developed it together with the residents. 1,000 stories. We collected stories of the residents, and they get materialized. Since it's in a historical area, and the residents are really keen to share their stories, and now we got this object. It's important for us to work with the citizens, and we're proud to work in our own city. Thank you very much.
I really wanted to be here with you, so we decided to make a short film just in order to share some thoughts with you.
So, video, is it will be, yeah? Video, нам обещали. You can see it. Ну, бывает, технические неполадки. Oh, great.
Like a strip of building between the sky and the water. And it's even more the case in Saint Petersburg, that I know very well. I'm extremely honored to work on this place. According to me, it requires a very strong control in what we will do. I mean, it's a very precious part of heritage, and we have to be extremely strong, rigorous, simple, to respect and to fit in this incredible context and this incredible heritage. So what we pretend to do in our project is more magnifying places and never load them with things, objects, too much busy things. This is a more important part for me, to magnify an existing beautiful place. I'm working in a lot of different countries in this moment. I'm more an explorer than an exportateur, if this makes sense. I really think a good project is mostly the understanding of the sites. We need to spend a lot of time feeling the scale, feeling the ambience, qualities, understanding people, what uses. And revealing a place is, according to me, what we have to do more. We were very lucky to work on Marseille, in south of France, le Vieux Port de Marseille, very famous, built by the Greeks. And we took a risk, we did quite nothing. We decided to do a very simple pavement, but we were very surprised to see an immediate success. People immediately appropriate this empty space. It's crowded anytime. Very large areas are so beautiful and so uncommon in the world today. It's not like doing a park in a defined space. It's doing a park with a huge panorama, a lot of space around us. And I think this is sort of new, and it obliges us in a very positive way to invent a new writing for public spaces. in Bordeaux, in front of the very famous historical facade of the city, which is 6 kilometers long. We are doing a park, and this park is extremely naturalistic. It is a long horizon line with trees. We were looking for this kind of contrast between the classic city and a certain presence of nature in the center of the city, to find the correct balance between these two components. It is well known that we are dealing for the very long term. It takes time to do things, and it takes time for them to grow, and they have to stay a very long time. We have to address this, to draw something today that works for people now and forever.
Спасибо. Ваши аплодисменты. Друзья, осталось 2 презентации, они такие же интересные, но здесь я должна отметить, что мы услышали с вами 6 опытных команд, и теперь услышим 2 команды, которые были квалифицированы, выбраны как перспективные и молодые. Дальше на сцену я приглашаю Георгия Снежкина, сооснователя бюро «Хвоя», знакомого всем, я уверена, и Кристину Эрстед, исполнительного директора «Караван». Аплодисменты еще раз.
Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. Мы молодое бюро.
Bureau Hoya to participate in this competition. We create a group of companies, young up-and-coming bureaus, Caravan from Sweden, Mars Yaz from St. Petersburg, and Alexander Diverkin from Moscow, that's transport expert, and John Love Green, director of Botanical Garden Uppsala. As for Hoya Bureau, I'm one of the 3 co-founders. The other 2 say hello. Our bureau started 2015, a long time ago. We started with small, private, and very small projects, mostly residential houses for our friends and our relatives, some pavilions for festivals, or like a small office, wooden one, small-scale houses, interspersed with some competition projects, some projects we did for ourselves, for our pleasure. This project we did for the Petrovskaya Kosa, this is the yachting club. We help the yachtsmen develop their territory and develop yachting. That's how we met Miles and Yachts, and Alexei, who's here on the screen. He's director for development of Miles and Yachts in the right direction. It is clear from this photo. And the result of this cooperation is Safe Kabul port. Many of you have visited it. As for the Safe Kabul port, there's the territory of a functioning factory and lots of constructions from various epochs. When we went there, everything has happened. Red brick buildings, concrete works from Soviet times, and embankment. Nothing to do. So we're really focused, and in what we did, we revealed things. We not just added, but we subtracted to open the views that were closed, to make it an open space from the used to be a factory, a closed space, and now it's a place for meetings, and there are very few places like that in St. Petersburg. That's Safe Kabul is one of them, and Tучков should be the second one. We managed to create, to make some architectural photographs, but our favorite photographs are these ones. That's where people really enjoy it, and this is why Safe Kabul, Martin Yards and Alexei Naskov is responsible for that. That's our favorite picture. That's the first way of working. It's not about hard, it's about soft. We're working with the territory. It's right parties, right people, and right sundown. And the second part of our presentation. It's the Bolshammer Street. There was competition for this gentrification of this pedestrian path, and it was important for us to win this competition. So our proposition was very conservative, just do nothing, like pavement, just granite and some pattern concentric circles, but we kept the historic street lights, lanterns. We made it complementary to the historical heritage, because everything important has happened before. Had happened. Since we don't have any parks in our portfolio, we met via the internet, Caravan Bureau from Sweden. They make parks. There are a few pictures of their parks. You see different stages of implementation. No big parks, but maybe Christina can add something.
Single word what you're saying, but
Anyway.
But I could just add something here.
Here you go, please.
I'm Christina, and I'm from the Swedish Landscape Architect Office Caravan. No, you take that.
Oh, okay. I will click it for you.
So we do not have offices around the world. We are a small office with 17 landscape architects in Uppsala and Stockholm. And we work making outdoor places, of course, squares, parks, and these are some examples of our projects. Our goal is really to make make places where people really want to hang out and meet. This is a park in Uppsala, Sweden, where we work together with local skaters and parkour people. And this is also a project in Uppsala, a large park with the waterfront and playgrounds. And they all have in common that they are places where we want people, young and old and all ages, to meet. And we have the same climate as you do, so we feel at home working here in St. Petersburg.
Да, это важно, потому что, собственно говоря, было важно собрать какую-то такую скандинавскую команду, у которой одинаковые, по крайней мере, одинаковые климатические условия. Вот.
The same. Well, that's it. Choir Caravan, Martin Yards, and Chanel Green and Alexander Devatkin. Thank you very much. That's it. Careful, your clicker. Thank you. Dear friends, and the last presentation, a young team. I'm happy to invite on this stage Tom Boucher, director of Praxis, and Peter Savetnikov, co-founder of Catharsis. You want a big hand?
Попробуй, скажи что-то.
Раз. Good evening. I am Thomas Boucher, landscape architect and urban designer. I'm the director of Praxis. We're based in Paris, and we're the leader of the team. I'm very glad to be here tonight and to participate to this amazing competition. In fact, it's like a dream for me, because when I was young, I was reading Pushkin, Gogol, Dostoevsky, and in the first page of our book in the agency, there is a sentence of Dostoevsky who said, "The beauty will change the world." And there is also the poem of Pushkin, and there was he was writing about the river. And the river is dressed with stone, and I think that's a beautiful image. There is also another link between me as a French landscape architect and St. Petersburg. I was studying in Versailles, in the potager of the king, and the park of Versailles is a reference for two projects of urban projects for making cities. One is in St. Petersburg, and the other one, which was not realized, by an architect named Leblanc. And the other one is Washington, and the architect is also a French architect, L'Enfant. Then it's a pleasure for me, for all the team, to be here tonight. I think we are a young team, perhaps the youngest team of the competition, and we wanted to be a Russian and a French team, and we are the part of the French team. And I think with catharsis and praxis, yeah, we have to work together, I think, here. That's praxis and catharsis. We made a team with, there is a design team, there is engineers, and there is also experts. And half of the team is French, and the other side of the team is Russian. For the French park, we have a praxis. We have also urbanist and a French architect who also work a lot here in St. Petersburg and is a climate expert. We have BOA, which are lighting designers, international company. And after AREP for the engineering, and also Biotop for the ecology. Hypercube is for the climate cities. And perhaps also we work with cycloponic for the agriculture. And Anushka Vazak, who is a philosopher who works on aesthetics and climates. And now the other part of the team with Peter.
Да, добрый день, меня зовут Петр Советников, партнер бюро «Катарсис». Я, наверное, сейчас представлю коротко русскую часть.
I'm going to introduce briefly the St. Petersburg Russian part of our group of companies. Involved for us, a Russian-French group of companies. It's the right combination. This smart group of companies. In St. Petersburg part is Bureau Anton Smirnov's bureau. It has a good reputation. St. Petersburg Catharsis, I'm going to talk about it later. And experts Evgeny Petrashenia and the landscape architect from St. Petersburg. And Mark Kalinin is an expert in creation of public spaces. I can speak a bit about everyone, but first of all, I would like Timar to talk about his experience of landscape design, and then just a bit about the architecture. So, Timar.
I will show you a few images of the project we are currently making, or we have made. That's a project in the suburb of Paris, and it's the way we think that park and the nature can design the city. We are in the Seine Valley in a meander. Another park, it's a network of park along a river. We are also close to Paris, and we give a specific identity to each of the park. There is an ecological park, there is an agricultural park, and also a recreative one. Another project, it's how to stage geography, and there is two systems for the water and the ecology with fit to the two systems of water. That's a huge park in Le Havre. It's close to the channel. It's 270 hectares, and we have a reflection of how the park and the city have a relationship, have linked, and how we can have use in this in that climate, which is really windy and rainy. Another project is currently project in the firm. It's famous historical park in Paris. It's a Butte-Chaumont Park. It's a 19th century park at a period where the park were designing a city in the Western world, like Central Park in New York, like the American parks, and also the large park in London. And we are working, to make a scenic view on the top of the hill. Another historical park we made in Reims. It's in Champagne, close to the Champagne houses, and it's how to make an iconic new postal card, and also to combine a new postal card and daily comfort for everybody during the year. And obviously, we like to make really beautiful natural spaces, but the best for us is to make space for people and freedom of use. And we can make several images to illustrate it.
Да, ну я бы хотел, только компоновали эту презентацию с ребятами.
Collecting this presentation from guys from Praxis, they sent us our version of presentation. We thought it was going to be shorter, so sort of compact. So we said, guys, let's make a list of something, some theses, some bullet points and slogans, glamorous pictures, as many as possible. But they said, no, we don't want to do it in the framework of this presentation, talking about our principles of our work in detail about slogans, because that's different. That's very delicate. We thought, yeah, really, this is a very delicate thing here, because nature is very delicate. Something non-commercial, really. So it's a special intonation, because we're going to have various attitudes to park, because parks are not public spaces. It shouldn't be confused. Of St. Petersburg Bureau catharsis. If you're a young architect here, you can imagine what we feel today when we speak here tonight. It's very surprising for us. Amazing. We have very few implemented projects, some small things that we don't have time to show here. But maybe we managed to create something good over the 2-3 years of our existence. We won a few competitions, urban architectural competitions held by our Committee for Architecture. Also, we won some international competitions. We were second place in Sef Kabul and the first place in the Greek competition. And we hope we also belong to the kind of bureau that we don't have thousands of experts, professionals, but we develop some delicate things like our French partners. It's very important for us. That's it.